So JR, to start, I mean, Governor Ducey just announced a cyber command center last week in Arizona. It kind of builds on a bunch of other work that's been happening at the governor level in the state on cyber. Tell us a little bit about that effort and what that means for the cybersecurity operation across the state.
So Governor Ducey, when he brought cybersecurity over to Homeland Security, he made the statement that cybersecurity is Homeland Security. And that's really built on the reality that as we are more interconnected, not only as citizens in all the business that we do, but recognizing the interconnectedness of state government with local law enforcement and our communities, that we have to have a place where we can come together and collaborate on that protection. And so the Cyber Center, the Cyber Command Center, is really bringing together a place where for statewide operations, that's where we can get together, and then we can collaborate with public safety, local law enforcement, and then there's also the opportunity for public-private to come together and partner in that center for the public good.
So another security effort that you have underway right now is one of the pilot states for the StateRAMP cloud risk assessment platform. What's your experience been like in that process, and what are some of the things that you're doing as a part of that pilot?
So StateRAMP for us really is about continuous improvement. As we look at what we've been doing relative to our need to vet the vendors that are holding our data in cloud environments, we want to progress that and continue to mature it. And StateRAMP, we believe, is the right next step. And so we're really seeking to explore that now. It's been a great partnership. We've worked as part of the steering committee with StateRAMP. We're now engaging in a pilot process where we're going to be working with our existing vendors to transition them into StateRAMP, as well as seeking to adopt and really exercise the StateRAMP process. But we're very optimistic that it's going to bring the value, and really it's the right type of partnership at the right time for the state of Arizona so that we can continue to progress our adoption of cloud technologies, reducing the burden on ourselves as well as the burden on our partners, but understanding that we still maintain ownership of the risk and responsibility for the data. But through this partnership with StateRAMP, we think that'll be more efficient in vetting our vendors.
And by its very nature, StateRAMP is super collaborative, right? I mean, it's seeking to set a model that works across all the states, and it builds on the success of FedRAMP at the federal level. What does that collaboration in the cloud space do for you, and what does it mean to be that pilot state doing this?
So I think really the value is beyond the pilot, right? We want to do the pilot because we believe in what's happening, and someone's got to go first. And so we already know what we can achieve with our own processes and our current process of vetting vendors. What we see that StateRAMP has stood up really replicates those processes of the initial assessment and validation, but really adds the value of continuous monitoring onto it. And that's the next step that we want to get to is to be able to have that kind of continuous assurance that the cloud service providers that we're partnered with are doing the right things to protect our data in partnership with us.
So you've talked about cloud security, but let's talk about cloud maturity, right? I mean, you've been working on cloud. Arizona, has been a leader across the state space when it comes to cloud. How have your results in working with your cloud first policy and working in the cloud in general, how have they matured over the years, and where are you now?
So where we are now, since we started our journey down the path of this cloud first policy, which I want to say really had Cloud Smart built into it as well, because we had a hybrid approach from day one. Where we are relative to the cloud first objectives, we now have completed 83 data center migrations and rationalizations, and that's out of 90 that we identified. And we thought we only had 80. We found some along the way. Those are everything from formal data centers, things we would recognize as formal data centers, to someone who had the server in the closet, under the desk, so forth. But we want to ensure that all of that compute, as well as the data associated with it, is properly protected. So as we go through the process, we're saying, okay, those things that can move to the cloud, we want to move into the cloud, put them in the environments, again, with our partners that are properly protected. And for those things that may not be cloud ready, we have a data center environment that they can go into. And through that process, we've completed, like I said, 83 data centers, more than 2,700 applications have been migrated. And then we're moving into tracking the cost savings associated with that. So we avoided having to invest somewhere between $20 and $30 million into one of the state's data centers to make it really what it needed to be. And even then, it was still only going to maybe get to tier 1, 1.5, didn't have multiple data feeds, or I'm sorry, multiple power feeds, which you really want for data center resilience. And so we found we could partner with a local data center provider, get a tier 3 facility, world class, and we partner for the things that we don't do as well ourselves. And that's really the great value proposition of working in partnership.
And so with a modernization effort like that, there's, we talk a lot about digital transformation, and digital transformation means a ton of stuff. But I mean, how does a modernization backbone like that really support your overarching digital transformation efforts?
So by putting the building blocks in place, as we encounter these modernization opportunities, first off, we've already learned lessons ourselves about how do we properly secure the cloud. And then we have the discipline and the practices around the governance processes of how we approach data and where the data is going and how it needs to be protected as we go into these cloud environments. And then we're able to have good productive conversations, both from a contractual standpoint, but also from a vendor partner standpoint on how do we go into environments that are going to meet our requirements as well as be sustainable. Because when we make those investments, especially some of the larger modernization projects, they're not the 2-3 year and we'll see what happens. These tend to be longer lasting investments, and so we really need to make good decisions on them.
And so when you make these longer lasting investments, what's going into your decision making process, especially because you've done all this work, right, to modernize, you've done all this work to find all those applications, to deal with all those data centers. What goes into the process now as you think about kind of future proofing this modernization?
So to me, one of the key questions to ask in future proofing is really, are we moving up the stack of technology? Are we moving towards software as a service anywhere that we can? And so that we're consuming things where we're configuring rather than writing custom code. It's not the panacea, but the farther we get down that pipe, we also benefit from the ecosystems of integrators and partners that can work with those platforms. And that provides the state a more sustainable path where we can have a platform, if we need to change partners along the way in terms of who's supporting us at the time, the platform can remain the same, but our current integration partner can change, and we can even bring multiple to the table if we need to from a scale and elasticity perspective.
A big part of digital transformation really is the citizen-facing digital service. What are you doing when it comes to modernizing, updating, and building these digital service experiences for the resident?
So more recently, we've done some of the more tactical work of closing the gap on about 250 services, 300 services in the last year, which is really bringing them online so that they are fully digital. No pen, no paper, no fax machine. You don't go into the office. Everything can be completed online. But that's only part of the citizen experience, right? We want them to be able to complete those transactions, but we don't necessarily have a good unified experience across all of that. Now, an example of where we're maturing and growing in that area would be we have a new business one-stop project, which is cross-agency. So we have 3 to 5 agencies that are stakeholders in this, and this covers the entire life cycle of planning, starting, running, and ultimately retiring a business, and providing a unified experience for our business constituents across that, and looking to bring that forward in a single application while still allowing the line of business applications to run behind that. And that really is the foundation of wanting to build on that from a user experience perspective and continue to emphasize providing world-class digital services to our citizens in Arizona.